I was born in Halesowen, and at first glance it is little more than a collection of poundlands and charity shops. Just outside Birmingham, and surrounded on one side by greenbelt farmland and on the other by a major motorway and commuter roads, it is easy to see why many overlook its past. The class divide in Halesowen is astounding, and largely due to historical transfer from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. Halesowen started off as part of Shropshire before being transferred to wealthy Worcestershire in 1844. More recently, the Tower Blocks Council estate ridden town has become part of the Dudley Metropolitan Borough. Tower blocks from post-war 60s Britain still tower over the town centre, but their names speak volumes about the omnipresent class divide in the town. Even in the middle of the 19th century, the town was described as consisting of one street of respectable houses and many smaller streets containing humbler dwellings irregularly built. It feels slightly like salt in the wind that in more recent history the 60s tower blocks were named after areas the people imprisoned in them can only dream of. Tenbury House, Malvern House and Worcester House ring of the hopeless envy you can feel everywhere in that side of town as they tower tall looking over the large mansion-esque expensive houses with equally expensive cars. The 60s was a time where technological advances were a major focus, with events like the first man in space and public demonstrations of personal computers. Western society became very receptive to the idea of technological advancement. Contextually, therefore, it makes perfect sense that tower blocks were widely celebrated, because their construction and appearance signified a rupture with tradition. Le Corbusier criticised any effort at ornamentation, speaking of utopian ideologies embodied within the tower block. Le Corbusier spoke of the harmony following the Second World War and deemed it the product of architecture. He argued harmony has reasons, it is not the effect of caprice, but that of construction that is logical and congruous with the ambient world. The tower block was practical, but beyond that, it propagated communal living, a vision for a society of enlarged kinship. It is easy to see in this sense why tower blocks were so desirable to begin with. However, looking at Certeau's characterisation of the home as both a powerful and telling representation of economic and social capital, as well as aspiration, it is equally easy to imagine the stigma that has historically become attached to those who inhabit the wrong part of Halesowen. It was never the intention for tower blocks to construct this Britain, though. Tower blocks stood and still stand tall and proud, a symbol of functionality and necessity in our imagined future. However, Bourdieu notes both functionality and necessity as long-standing symbols of working class. Thatcher even acknowledged that tower blocks have caused more problems than they have solved. What you have done with a tower block is have whole areas without visible authority, the natural visible authority which parents exercise. Applying Foucault's metaphor of the panopticon, we can look at how this lack of social control impacts a child's ability to gain knowledge. A child playing in the street of terraced houses can be seen by his parents even at the other end of the road. It can also be heard by its parents, and likewise it can hear its parents. If someone is 12 stories up in a tower block and that child is playing on the forecourt below, which could even be on the opposite side of the building, there is no fear factor, and there can be no knowledge of wrongdoing without a parent or society to reinforce it. There is no worry that parents are watching, even if they are 12 stories up. There is not much they can do in that respect. This lack of social control only serves to widen the already existing class divide. Tower blocks that overshadow Halesowen and much of Britain were maybe, then in that sense, always doomed to fail.